Silas laughed like my mother's pain was a punchline. Not a soft laugh. Not a nervous one. A clean, confident burst like he'd just won something, while he leaned on our kitchen island in his crisp work shirt, one hand around his phone, the other stirring his coffee as if the day belonged to him. I held the clinic notice between my fingers. The paper trembled only because air moved when he laughed. "Silas," I said, keeping my voice level. "They're asking for a deposit today. They won't do the procedure without it." He glanced at the notice, then at me, then back to his screen. "So pay it." "I can't cover it alone," I said. "Not with the mortgage draft hitting tomorrow. Not with the credit line we opened for your expansion. I need you to help. Just this once." That was when he finally looked up fully. His eyes slid over my face like he was searching for the hidden camera. "You need me to help," he repeated slowly. "Yes." He laughed again, shorter this time, sharper. "Leona, I swear you picked the worst timing." My throat tightened, but I didn't let it change my tone. "Worst timing for what?" "For me." He gestured toward the living room where his laptop bag sat ready, as if the bag itself was proof of importance. "I've got the pitch dinner tonight. I need to be focused. I need to show stability. My mom is having surgery," I said. Silas lifted his brows like I'd said something inconvenient. "And I'm supposed to fix that with what?" "You act like I have a money faucet." I stared at him, and something in my chest went quiet, not numb, just clear. "You do have a faucet," I said. "You've been drinking from mine." His smile thinned. "Oh, here we go." "No." I placed the clinic notice flat on the counter, smoothing it once like I was smoothing my own thoughts. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to solve a problem. I asked my husband for help, and I'm telling you we can't right now," he snapped, irritation breaking through the charm. "Why do you always do this? Why does everything have to be a crisis?" "Because my mother's heart didn't schedule itself around your ego," I thought. But I didn't say it. Instead I said, "Then tell me the plan." Silas scoffed. "The plan is you handle it. You're good at handling it. That's why we work." He said we like a brand name. I felt the sting anyway. Not loud, not dramatic. The quiet kind that sinks in and changes you. I reached for my keys. "I'm going to the clinic." Silas's gaze followed me, and his voice turned warning sweet. "Don't make me the villain because you can't manage your family." I paused at the doorway. "I'm not making you anything," I said. "I'm just finally noticing what you already are." The door shut behind me before he could laugh again. In the car, my hands rested on the steering wheel until my breathing evened out. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I let the hurt settle into a shape I could carry. Pain, analysis, decision, action. The clinic smelled like sanitizer and tired hope. The receptionist's smile was careful, like she didn't want to bruise me with the truth. "I can do a payment plan," I said. "But I need her on the schedule." She nodded. "We can do a split deposit today, remainder over the next 60 days. But we do need the deposit before intake." "How much?" I asked, even though it was printed in bold on the notice. She told me. The number sat in my stomach like a stone. I opened my banking app in my lap. Our joint checking stared back with its polite, thin balance thin, because I kept it thin on purpose. Thin because Silas saw available as mine. My savings account looked healthier, but not enough to cover the deposit without breaking the month. Then I opened the account Silas didn't know existed. It was labeled LV Reserve. It had always been my quiet insurance against a life that could change overnight. I moved the money. The transfer confirmed. Deposit paid. The receptionist's shoulders relaxed, and she slid the paperwork toward me. "She be taken back in 20 minutes. I signed where she pointed. My signature looked steady because it had practice carrying other people. When I sat beside my mother, She slept with a thin line of worry etched into her brow. Even unconscious, she looked like she was apologizing for needing help. I brushed the back of my knuckles gently along her hand. "You don't have to be strong right now," I whispered. "I can be." And then the absurd part hit. I could be strong for her. But my husband had laughed at the idea of being strong for me. My phone buzzed. "Silas." I didn't answer. Another buzz. A text. "Where are you?" Another. "We need to talk." Another. "Stop being dramatic." I turned the screen face down. Silence wasn't a tantrum. Silence was a boundary. By the time my mother was wheeled into pre-op, my boundary had hardened into something else. A line. If he crossed it again, there would be consequences he couldn't charm his way out of. I left the clinic and drove straight to Mara Cowie's office. Mara opened her door in a black blazer that looked like it had never begged anyone for anything. She took one look at my face and stepped aside. "Come in," she said. "Tell me what happened." I told her the facts. No speeches. No adjectives. Just what he said and what he did. Mara's jaw tightened. He laughed. "Yes. And you paid the deposit?" "Yes." She nodded once. "Okay. Then we stopped the bleeding." I sat across from her desk, hands folded, and watched her turn her focus into a weapon. "Start from the top," she said. "Accounts. Property. Debts. His business." "Your name on anything," I answered. Mara wrote. When I mentioned the separate reserve account, her eyes flicked up. "Smart," she said, not praising me, acknowledging me. When I got to the part I rarely spoke aloud, my voice didn't shake, but it did lower. "There's also a trust," I said. Mara's pen paused. "From who?" "My grandmother." Mara's brows rose. "Odessa Marrow," I nodded. Even saying the name made the room feel smaller, like Odessa's reputation carried weight in the air. "Leona," Mara said carefully. "Your grandmother died." "Yes." "And she left you a trust you haven't accessed." "Yes." Mara stared at me for a beat. "Why doesn't your husband know?" "Because Odessa made sure he never could touch it. Because Odessa had looked at Silas once and seen hunger wearing a suit. Because ID wanted my marriage to be normal enough to pretend I didn't need a parachute." I said only, "Because it's mine." Mara's pen moved again. "Good. We keep it that way." I pulled an envelope from my bag documents I kept tucked away, like a secret I wasn't sure I was allowed to have. Mara scanned the first page, then the second, and her expression shifted into something like respect. "This isn't small," she said. "It's not accessible without a trigger," I replied. Mara tapped the clause section. "Trigger like what?" I pointed. Mara read aloud, her voice flattening as she reached the line. "Activation upon spouse humiliation of request for aid." She looked up. "Your grandmother wrote humiliation into a legal mechanism." "Odessa didn't believe in hoping men would behave," I said quietly. "She believed in designing consequences." Mara exhaled. "Who's the trustee?" "Gideon Slate." Mara's eyes widened. "Her counsel?" "Yes." Mara set the pages down like they were radioactive. "Then we don't consider activating it. We do it. Today." My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a call. It was a bank alert. Unusual login attempt. Device not recognized. My stomach went cold. Mara held her hand out. "Show me." I turned the screen. She read it once, then looked at me. "He's trying to get into your accounts." "He shouldn't even know." "He knows what he can," Mara cut in. "And he's testing what he can't. Leona, this is the moment people regret ignoring." I didn't feel panic. I felt clarity sharpen. Mara pulled her laptop closer. "We lock it down. New passwords. 2-factor. We document the attempts. I did exactly what she said. Click by click. Boundary by boundary. Then Mara printed a statement on her letterhead. Sign, she said. My pen hovered for half a breath. Not fear gravity. I signed. I, Leona Vance, request activation of the Odessa Marrow Trust under the humiliation and attempted access clauses. Mara sealed it. Take it straight to Gideon Slate. No detours. I stood with the envelope in my hand like it was a key I'd been pretending didn't exist. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow I have a special story for you. Gideon Slate's office wasn't glass and flash. It was quiet stone and polished wood. The kind of place that didn't advertise power because it assumed you could feel it. The receptionist greeted me by name before I said a word. He's expecting you, Miss Vance. Expecting. Like this was a scheduled appointment. Like my grandmother had put it on a calendar. Gideon stood when I entered, silver at his temples. Eyes sharp with the calm of a man who'd spent years protecting someone more dangerous than any headline. Leona, he said. Please sit. I sat. I slid the sealed envelope across his desk. He didn't rush to open it. He rested his fingers on it, reading the weight before the paper. Which clause? He asked. Humiliation, I said. And attempted access. Gideon's face didn't change, but the air tightened. He opened the envelope, read my statement, then nodded once. Very well. I blinked. That's it. Gideon lifted a brow. Did you expect fireworks? No. Odessa didn't either, he said. She expected results. He pressed a button. A wall panel slid open. A safe. He removed a thin black folder and set it in front of me. My name was written on it in Odessa's handwriting, Leona. My throat closed. Gideon watched me, not unkind. She anticipated this day. I feel ridiculous, I admitted. Like I'm overreacting to a laugh. Gideon's gaze held mine. Humiliation doesn't require a crowd. It requires intent. He opened a second folder and slid out a small silver key. This opens a room at Marrow House, he said. Marrow House, the townhouse that had been sealed since Odessa's funeral. The place people whispered about like it was a museum. Why would I need? Because, Gideon said, voice even, Odessa insisted that if this trust ever activated, you would not be guided only by paperwork. My pulse thudded, controlled but heavy. What does that mean? Gideon's eyes remained steady. It means she left you instructions. And presence. Presence. The word landed wrong in my rational brain. Gideon's phone lit up. He glanced at it. Your spouse has attempted access to additional accounts connected to your name. My stomach turned. Gideon continued. He is escalating. I swallowed. What do I do? Gideon slid the key closer. You go to Marrow House. Now. And you do not answer him. Not once. On the drive, Silas called twice. I let it ring. He texted. I can't log in. What did you do? Then, stop being dramatic. Then, you're embarrassing me. Embarrassing him. My mother had a needle in her arm, and I was embarrassing him. I parked in front of Marrow House and sat still for a beat, key cold in my palm. The front door opened before I reached the steps. A woman in black stood there, posture perfect. Miss Vance, she said. Welcome home. My throat tightened. Who are you? Celeste, she replied. I served Mrs. Marrow. Served, present tense. Mrs. Marrow is, I began. Celeste stepped back, making room. Inside. The word hit like vertigo. Inside. I crossed the threshold. The house wasn't dark. Lamps were lit. A fireplace crackled softly. It smelled of citrus polish and old paper, the scent of Odessa's standards. Celeste led me through the foyer, my heels clicking against marble like a countdown. Then I heard a voice from the sitting room low, familiar, edged with amusement. "Leona," it said. "You're late." My lungs forgot what to do. I turned the corner. Odessa Marrow sat by the fire in her favorite chair. A furrow draped over one shoulder, like she'd simply decided to be comfortable in the middle of the impossible. Her hair was silver, neatly pinned. Her face was sharper, thinner. But her eyes were the same. Bright, ruthless, and somehow mine. My voice came out small. "You're dead." Odessa smiled like she'd been accused of being dramatic. "I was," she said. "For the world." Tears rose before I could stop them. Not grief, exactly exhaustion. The exhaustion of believing the one person who always saw me clearly was gone. Odessa held out her hand. "Come here." I moved toward her like gravity had chosen. Her grip was warm, real, firm. "How?" I whispered. Odessa leaned back. "Sit. Breathe. You look like a woman who's been carrying a man and calling it love." That sentence hurt because it was accurate. I sat across from her, still half expecting her to vanish if I blinked. Odessa studied me. "You asked your husband for help." My throat tightened. "Who told you?" Odessa lifted a brow. "You think I built an empire without building ears?" I swallowed. He laughed. Odessa's mouth tightened. "Of course he did. Why are you here?" I asked. "Why now?" Odessa's voice remained calm. "Because the trust was never only about money. It was about timing. The moment a woman decides to stop being convenient, everyone who used her becomes desperate." My skin went cold. "He tried to access my accounts." Odessa nodded. "He's been trying longer than you know. Testing, measuring, preparing. Months, I realized. Little moments I'd brushed off. Questions that seemed casual. Requests that sounded like teamwork. Odessa watched my face. "Don't blame yourself. Loyalty is your strength." He exploited it. The tenderness in that stung more than any insult. Odessa pressed a button. A small screen rose from the side table. A live feed appeared. My kitchen. Silas pacing, phone to his ear, movements sharp with panic. I stared. "You're watching my house." "I'm watching my legacy," Odessa corrected, eyes steady. "I'm not—" "No," she said, cutting me off gently. "You're not an investment. You're my granddaughter. There's a difference." On the screen, Silas slammed a cabinet door. Odessa's voice stayed calm. "He's about to call your mother. He will try to create urgency. He will try to use the thing you love most." My heart tightened. "No." Odessa's gaze hardened. "Yes." My phone buzzed. "Silas." Odessa didn't look at the screen. She looked at me. "Do not answer. Let him reveal himself." I didn't answer. Celeste appeared silently with tea, as if this were an ordinary afternoon. Odessa poured and said, "Here is what happens next." Her plan came in clean steps. "Your mother's care is secured. Your accounts are locked and monitored. Mara files today. Gideon executes tonight." And then Odessa's eyes gleamed with something like satisfaction. "We attend the Marrow Foundation gala," she said. "Tonight?" I asked. "Yes," she replied. "Your husband is attending. And he has been telling people you're lucky." My throat went dry. Odessa leaned forward. "He is going to learn what it feels like to laugh at the wrong woman." Upstairs, Celeste dressed me in a simple black gown that didn't beg for attention. It didn't need to. It fit like certainty. Odessa fastened a thin necklace around my neck, a small pendant shaped like a key. "I bought that when you were born," she said. "Not diamonds. Symbols last longer." "What does it mean?" I asked. "That you can open any door," Odessa said. and you can lock any door you choose. We arrived at the hotel ballroom just before the speeches were scheduled. Odessa stepped out of the car first. The air around the entrance changed. Heads turned. Conversations slowed. People stared openly now, not even pretending discretion. Odessa Marrow was supposed to be dead, and yet she walked into the light like she owned time. I followed at her side, my heart steadying with every step. Inside, the gala shimmered chandeliers, champagne, polished smiles. Then the room noticed Odessa. Whispers rose like wind through a hall of money. A man in a tuxedo approached, face pale. "Mrs. Marrow." Odessa smiled politely. "Hello, Thomas." Thomas looked like he'd just seen a ghost and remembered he owed her interest. Odessa's gaze moved across the room. Then I saw Silas. He stood near the bar in his best suit, laughing with two men in expensive watches, one hand resting on the lower back of a woman in red. Not my back. The familiar ache rose, sharp and clean. I didn't gasp, I didn't move. I watched, letting the truth settle. He hadn't been waiting for me to fail. He'd been preparing to replace me. Odessa leaned toward me. "There she is," she murmured. "The woman in red?" I asked. "The woman who thinks she's replacing you," Odessa said. "She's not replacing you. She's auditioning for the role you're leaving behind." Silas turned. His eyes landed on me first, irritation flashing like habit. Then he saw Odessa beside me. His face went blank, as if his mind rejected reality. He blinked once, twice. The woman in red noticed his shift and turned, her smile faltering. Silas started toward us. Too fast, too loud. "Leona, what is this?" I didn't answer him. Odessa did, voice calm enough to cut. "It's called consequence." Silas's mouth tightened. "Mrs. Marrow." Odessa lifted one hand. Silas stopped like he'd been trained by authority he respected. Odessa's gaze swept him like he was a document, not a man. "Enjoying my event?" she asked. "Your event?" Silas echoed, voice cracking just slightly. Odessa smiled. "Yes, mine, you're a guest." People nearby leaned in, pretending to adjust cufflinks and necklaces while they listened. Silas lowered his voice, trying for intimate control. "Leona, we need to talk. Right now." I met his eyes. "We'll talk when you stop talking at me." His jaw clenched. He glanced around, noticing the attention, and his charm tried to reboot. Odessa turned toward the stage. "Thomas," she called, still polite. "I'd like the microphone." Thomas practically ran. Odessa took the microphone like she'd been born holding one. The room fell silent. "Good evening," Odessa said. "I'm aware I've caused a bit of surprise." A nervous laugh rippled. Odessa didn't reward it. "I am alive," she continued. "My absence was strategic, not tragic." Gasps. Phones lifted. People whispered, hungry for a story. Odessa's gaze swept the room with ownership. "I built the Marrow Foundation to protect people from systems that treat them like numbers. Tonight I'm here because I discovered a system much closer to home." Her eyes landed on Silas, then on me. "My granddaughter," Odessa said, "has been described as quiet, supportive, lucky." My chest tightened. Odessa lifted a folder Gideon appeared at the edge of the stage like a shadow. Handing it to her. "Let me correct the record," Odessa said. She opened the folder. "Leona Vance is the primary beneficiary of the Odessa Marrow Trust. She holds controlling interests in several Marrow holdings. She is the silent partner behind Hollis Systems' logistics platform." The room shifted. Silas went pale. The men beside him stiffened as if someone had pulled a plug. Odessa's voice remained even. "Which means the man who has been introducing himself as the visionary CEO has been standing on my granddaughter's foundation." Silas stepped forward, panic breaking through. That's not. Odessa lifted her hand again. He stopped. And in that moment, I saw something I'd never seen on his face before. Fear. Odessa turned a page. And because we are being honest, she said, we should address the attempted access to her private accounts. Multiple login attempts from Mr. Silas Hollis. Without consent. A gasp moved through the nearest circle. The woman in red withdrew her hand from Silas's arm like it burned. Odessa looked at her with polite pity. Dear, she said softly, if you're here because you think he has money, I suggest you find a different hobby. The woman's cheeks flamed. She stepped back. Silas's voice went sharp. Leona, tell them this is a misunderstanding. I stared at him and felt the last thread of hope detach cleanly. It isn't, I said. 2 words, calm, final. Odessa continued. Effective immediately, Leona will assume active control of the assets held in trust. The board meets tomorrow morning. Invitations have been sent. Murmurs. People doing mental math. Odessa's gaze returned to Silas. Mr. Hollis will no longer represent himself as connected to Marrow Holdings in any capacity. Silas lunged verbally, not physically, his voice trying to fill the room. You can't do this. Odessa smiled. I can. I did. The papers are signed. Silas turned to me, desperation performing as love. Leona, please, we can fix this. You don't have to. I lifted my hand, my own boundary, quiet and steady. I asked you for help, I said. You laughed. His eyes flashed. I didn't mean. You meant it, I replied. You meant I would swallow it. The room held its breath. Odessa's voice softened into something almost kind. When a woman stops swallowing, some men call it cruelty, she said. It isn't cruelty. It's survival. She handed the microphone back and stepped down. And just like that, the room was forced to see what I'd been forced to live. I wasn't beside Silas. Silas had been standing on me. In a quiet lounge off the ballroom, Silas tried again. Not apology. Control. This is humiliating, he hissed, keeping his voice low as if low made it less ugly. Do you know what you've done? Odessa sat as if she owned the furniture. We've revealed the truth, she said. Silas pointed at me. You're doing this to punish me. I looked at him and felt nothing that resembled guilt. I'm doing this to stop punishing myself, I said. His face hardened. You're nothing without me. The lie came out like reflex. And it finally sounded like a lie. My phone buzzed with an alert from the clinic. Procedure complete. Stable. Recovery started. Relief hit so fast my vision blurred. I swallowed it down because emotions were for later. Strategy was for now. Odessa watched me read the message. Good, she said. Then you can focus. Silas's phone buzzed too. He looked down and his confidence cracked. What is this? He snapped. Gideon's voice came from behind him, calm as a lock clicking shut. Notice of termination, he said. Your access ends at midnight. Silas spun. You can't. Yes, Gideon said. We can. Silas looked around like he could find an ally in the room. He didn't understand that money doesn't like mess. Money likes order. Odessa was order. Silas left with his jaw clenched, fury strapped to his spine. The woman in red didn't follow him. She didn't look at him again. Outside, the city air felt colder, cleaner. Odessa and I got into the sedan without rushing. Halfway back to Marrow House, my phone buzzed. Mara, filed, served. He's frantic. You're protected. I exhaled slowly, feeling the first real loosening in my ribs all day. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow I have a special story for you. At the clinic, my mother's eyes were open when I entered. Sleepy. Drugged. Alive. "Leona," she whispered, and the sound broke something tender in me. "I'm here," I said, sitting beside her and taking her hand. Her gaze drifted past me and stopped. On Odessa. Confusion tightened her face. "Odessa?" Odessa stepped closer, and for the first time that day, her voice softened into something human. "Hello, Maribel." My mother's eyes filled. "But I thought—" "I know," Odessa said. "I'm sorry." My mother looked at me, questions stacked behind her eyes. "What's going on?" I squeezed her hand. "I'm fixing things," I said. "With Silas?" she asked softly. I shook my head. "Without him." My mother's eyes sharpened with a protective anger that medicine couldn't dull. "Did he hurt you?" I didn't dramatize it. I didn't minimize it either. "He made me feel like asking for help was shameful," I said. My mother's expression hardened. "Then he doesn't deserve you." The simplicity of that felt like permission. When my mother drifted back to sleep, Odessa and I stood in the hallway. "You did the hard part," Odessa said. "What was the hard part?" I asked. "Choosing reality over hope," she replied. "Hope is beautiful, Leona, but hope is not a strategy." Back at Marrow House, Gideon laid a stack of documents on the table. "Tomorrow," he said, "the board meets. Today, we secure your personal life." He looked at Odessa for confirmation. Odessa nodded. "Security at the house. Locks changed. Devices wiped. Accounts monitored." My stomach tightened. "He'll come back," I said. It wasn't fear. It was prediction. "Yes," Odessa said. "Men like him don't lose quietly. They try to take something on the way out." Gideon slid a phone record printout toward me login, attempts, timestamps, devices. Proof. Receipts. The kind of truth that didn't care about his version of events. Mara arrived later with a calm expression and a folder that looked like a clean ending. "Temporary orders are ready," she said. "And I've drafted the separation petition. You sign when you're ready." Odessa watched me, not pushing, not rescuing. I looked at the papers. I thought of Silas's laugh. Not the sound, the certainty behind it. I signed. My name looked different now, same letters, new meaning. Leona Vance. Mara nodded once. "Good." That night, in the guest room, I checked my phone one last time. Silas had sent a new series of messages. "You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. I'll ruin you. You're nothing without me." I stared at the last one and felt a small, strange calm, because it told the truth about him. Not that I was nothing, that he needed me to believe I was. Downstairs, Odessa sat with tea as if she hadn't returned from the dead earlier in the day. I walked in and sat across from her. She looked up. "How do you feel?" I searched for the right word. "Not okay. Not happy. Not victorious." "Clean," I said finally. Odessa's mouth curved. "Good. Clean is the beginning. What happens tomorrow?" I asked. Odessa's eyes sharpened. "Tomorrow, the world will call you lucky. They will say my money saved you. They will say my appearance rescued you." My throat tightened. Odessa leaned forward. "And you will not accept that story. What story do I accept?" I asked. "The truth," she said. "That you carried a man until you chose to set him down. That you asked for help, and when he laughed, you didn't beg. You woke up." I felt tears rise again, but this time they didn't feel like weakness. They felt like release. Odessa watched me and added, softer. "I showed up because I promised I would. But Leona, you're the one who finally arrived." At midnight, Gideon's phone chimed. "Access terminated," he said. Somewhere across the city, Silas's world was going quiet. By sunrise, headlines were already written without asking me. Odessa Marrow returns. Marrow heir reclaims control. Mara arrived with coffee and a look that said she'd slept 3 hours and still won. The board meeting starts at 9, she said. You don't have to perform. Just be present. At 9, I sat at a long table in a private conference room inside Marrow House. Board members filed in with faces carefully neutral people, trained to hide surprise behind professionalism. Odessa took the head chair as if she'd never left it. Gideon set a binder in front of me. Agenda, he said. Nothing moves without your signature. I flipped pages of clean language hiding sharp consequences. Reinstatement of active governance signed. Activation of my controlling interest signed. Immediate severance of Marrow partnerships with Hollis Systems pending audit signed. A woman across the table cleared her throat. Miss Vance, are you certain? This will freeze Mr. Hollis's operations. I met her eyes. He treated my life like it belonged to him, I said evenly. I'm correcting that. The room went quiet. Then several heads nodded small, respectful movements that didn't ask me to explain. When the last page was done, Gideon closed the binder like a door. Before I stood, my phone chimed with a message from the clinic. Mom resting. Pain controlled. Asking for you when she wakes. My chest loosened. Just enough. I replied with one word. Coming. Then my phone buzzed again with a voicemail notification. Silas. I listened only long enough to hear the truth in his voice. Panic trying to sound like authority. Call me, he said. You don't understand what you're doing. I deleted it. For once, silence felt like power. My kindness still existed now it had edges. And I wasn't sorry. Not a little understanding wasn't my job anymore. Boundaries were. Not because I screamed. Not because I fought. Because I stopped holding it up. I stood at the balcony window and looked out at the streetlights. The city moving like it didn't care about my marriage. And for the first time in years, that indifference felt like freedom. Because my life didn't have to revolve around one man's ego. It could move because I moved. In the morning, I would go back to my mother's bedside. I would go to the board meeting. I would take back the parts of my life I'd given away in the name of love. And I would do it the way I'd always done everything quiet. Steady. Prepared. Not loud chaos. A quiet knife. The kind you don't see until the rope is already cut. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.